Run for your lives, the trannies are coming. This is Jules Sanderson for FionaDobson.com. It really seems that these days one could be forgiven for thinking one's living in some sort of dystopian nightmare. A scandal triggered ironically by arch-villain Elon Musk, we'll call it Elongate, has allowed emboldened right-wing voices to lead us into an unknown political landscape full of contradiction and uncertainty. I'll explain. In a country where, in 2021, there were 48,830 gun deaths, the GOP is fiercely devoting its energy against the far greater threat, that being the 1,390 people under 18 that medically required hormone-blocking pharmacy, which subsequently allowed them to live normalised, happier lives that very same year. This apparently is more of an issue than the endemic problem of gun violence in society. Yay, go GOP, let's all go and make America great again. Regardless of the fact that those children were screened by the medical profession, their teachers, their psychologists, and their parents, and were found to be in need of pharmaceutical intervention, still the party line of the Republican Party is that this is a threat of such groundbreaking magnitude that it outweighs the matter of mass slaughter in the homes of peace-loving Americans. Excuse my ignorance, but this seems, to the rest of us, quite literally insanity. Sylvester's claims that it's no coincidence that shortly after I was ejected unceremoniously from Twitter, things took a serious turn for the worse. Advertisers left, Elon went through the debacle of charging people for a verified account, and now he's even suggesting every user should pay for access to X. According to Sylvester, this is all a direct result of my exit. Whilst I find this flattering, I don't think I've got quite that level of influence. Now that Twitter has unaccountably renamed itself X, and there's a bloody stupid name if ever there was one could call the other cronies of the right XMen. This is not to be confused with my many friends who have undergone transition and consider themselves XMen. Among this former group, we might look to the superheroes like Ted Cruz, whose special powers include being able to transport himself to Mexico whenever there's a disaster in Texas. We also have, and I know I'm mixing genres here, Catwoman, Lauren Bobbitt, the cattiest woman in Washington, and don't forget Marjorie Taylor Greene, or the Riddler, a person who speaks in such riddles that no one has the slightest clue what the hell she's talking about. And of course, there's the nemesis of all thinking people, Donald Trump, the Joker. With this league of dishonourable gentlemen and their infantile antics, is it any wonder people have concerns about the 2024 election? Well, if you haven't done so already, perhaps it's time to make sure you're registered to vote and ready for what lies ahead. But fear not. There's no trans people out there marauding and going out transing anyone's kids. Anyone remotely familiar with the process required to begin gender reassignment will know very well that there are many hoops to jump through before a doctor will even consider prescribing hormone blockers, which incidentally are reversible, and that surgery is something that can only occur in a very regulated set of circumstances. The only people who adopt these fictions are those with zero experience of the process. This is simply a made-up threat by a group of hucksters who resort to the plaintive cry, "Think of the children." Anyone who does think of the children will have long ago realized that the tiny number of minors who undergo any gender reassignment surgery do so because their lives are so degraded by body dysmorphia that their only other options are psychiatric care or suicide. But then some states would rather a dead teenager than a trans teenager. I'm Jules Sanderson for FionaDobson.com. Support my work at FionaDobson.com and on Patreon on the link in the description.